hearty good morning to all. From our Oxford Reading Circle course book, in page number 122, we have lesson 14, The Monkey's Paw, which is a short story by W. W. Jacobs. The story has two parts. In this video, we will talk about only the first part. Alright? Students, before starting the story, let's talk about the characters. The story has 5 characters. Number 1, Mr. White. Number 2, Mrs. White. Number 3, Herbert White. Number 4, Sergeant Major Morris. And number 5, the company representative, the stranger. Okay? Now, let's step into the story. Welcome back to the story, The Monkey's Paw, which is a short story by W. W. Jacobs. In the White family, there were 3 members. Alright. Mr. White, Mrs. White, and their son Herbert. Herbert and his father were playing the game of chess, and mother was sitting near the fire knitting. It was a dark and stormy night. Mr. White was complaining about the terrible weather outside and the deserted road. After a few minutes, what happened? Sergeant Major Morris paid a visit to Mr. White's house. Okay. Mr. White and Morris talked plenty of here and there and of India. They were friends. That's why they were talking to each other. Okay. Mr. White was interested talking of India. Now what happened to Morris? But Morris said that it was better for him to stay home, means to stay in his native land. Anything might have happened with him in India. That's why he is telling like this. Okay. As Mr. and Mrs. White were arguing with each other, what did Morris do? Morris took out a mummified paw from his pocket. Seeing this, all were excited that what he had taken out from his pocket. Then Morris explained that a fakir had a spell put on the paw. Then how it will work? 3 men can wish on the paw. 3 men means 1 man can wish 3 times. Then second man can wish 3 times. And the third man can also wish 3 times. Alright. Morris already had his 3 wishes. Whatever he had wished, he had already got it. Now the second man was another man. He had got his 2 wishes. And the third was what? His third wish was to ask for death. The third man, he had asked death as a wish. So, hearing this, Morris didn't want to stay in the native land, and he want to throw that paw, or he want to destroy that paw, or he want to put in the fire, or he want to sell it to someone. So he left India and came to his native land. Okay, with that particular monkey's paw. Clear? Now students, if you want to buy something without any proof or without the effect of that particular thing, will not buy, isn't it? So, without any proof or effect, no one was there to buy the paw. Then he threw the paw into the fire. But what happened? Mr. Morris rescued it. Seeing this, Morris warned him and said, "If any harm will happen, you please don't blame me." Alright. Then Mr. White, he shook his head. He agreed, but asked the way how to ask wish from the poor. From whom? From Morris. Morris also agreed, and he told him the trick to hold it up in the right hand, and whatever you wish, you have to wish aloud. Now, hearing this, Mrs. White, she remembered the stories of the Arabian Nights and joked something, but that joking didn't affect Morris because in his mind something else was going on, isn't it? He was just thinking if the third wish of the man would work out, then what might happen? Then where was the paw now? The paw was with Mr. White. He had kept it in one of his pockets, and Morris left the place saying that whatever you wish, wish for something sensible. Alright? Then, as the visitor showed his back and the door was shut, the three members started their chat. Mr. White said he had everything he wanted and there is no use to wish for. Herbert said that £200 would enable them to pay off the money owed for the house. So, what happened? Mr. White wished aloud for £200. Then, fine crash from the piano greeted the words, and Mr. White suddenly cried out and said that the paw moved like a snake in his hand, but it had not done any harm to him. Mr. and Mrs. White went to bed, and Herbert, who was sitting by the fire, saw a vividly realistic monkey face in the flames. He put out the fire, took the monkey's paw, and he too went to bed. Thank you.